Welcome to the All Comfort Services Home Comfort Zone podcast. I'm your host, Teresa. I am the marketing manager at All Comfort Services. Our podcast explores everything you need to know about your home's heating, cooling, indoor air quality, plumbing, and electrical systems. We share expert insights, practical tips, and engaging conversations with customers and businesses to provide solutions, ideas, and advice. Let's get started. Today I have Kendra Thompson. She's the president of the Madison Theater Guild. Welcome, Kendra.
I'm so glad to be here, Teresa. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. You have a great story to share, and we want to share it. And so we want to talk about today, we'd like to talk about your organization's rich history, your current initiatives, and the broader impact of community theater. I know that you've already told me quite a bit about what's going on, and I'm fascinated by all of it. Tell us about the history of the Madison Theater Guild.
Well, Madison Theater Guild is Madison's longest running theater company. And we aren't just a theater company. We also lease from the city of Madison a fabulous property called the Firehouse, which is on Monroe Street. And this Firehouse is where we provide set designing, costuming, props, and rehearsal spaces, both indoor and outdoor, not only for Madison Theater Guild productions, but for productions throughout Dane County. So not only are we creating our own works, we're inviting people into our spaces to use our costuming and to build their own sets, to paint the sets, to partake of the vast props supply that we have. So we really do have a twofold nonprofit theatrical endeavor going on. And it's really cool how we met, All Comfort, because at the time, because a couple months ago, we realized our furnace was dead. And one of our board members started scouting places in order to find furnaces. And All Comfort had very high Yelp reviews, and so we're like, oh, we'll check them out. And we were actually in a panic because the Firehouse is this gorgeous old historic firehouse that we now live in. It needs a roof. And we were like, how can we afford a roof and a furnace? So Lydia was taking an All Comfort service person called Larry through our property. And Larry became really interested in the Firehouse itself versus even just like looking at our old dead furnace. And he was walking around asking a bunch of questions. And then afterwards he said, I'm going to do my best to get you an affordable furnace. Okay. And we were expecting, a $7,000, $8,000 furnace. He came back with, is free affordable for you. And you guys donated a furnace to our Firehouse, which is such an important community theater property. And quite honestly, we didn't even know how we were going to pay for it. And so, I'm just really grateful to be here today and to share that story with you. But I'd also like to tell the community a little bit about the property if I can.
Sure. And I want to just add, I want to say thank you to Lennox territory manager to helping Larry Nelson, our HVAC commercial consultant, to help facilitate that. I just want to shout out to Lennox for making that happen too.
I shout out to Lennox too. Thank you, Lennox, for helping us make the drama continue. But yeah, so the Firehouse that we're in now, once upon a time was Fire Station number 7. Back in 1938, Standard Oil Company owned the property. And it was purchased by the city of Madison, and then a firehouse was built on it. One of the super cool things about this Firehouse, it has this awesome tower, which is where they used to hang the hoses from to dry. The Firehouse was built by an architect named Philip Homer, who designed it in the colonial revival fashion so that it would kind of fit with the neighborhood and wouldn't stand out. Homer was born in East Iowa and moved to Madison around 1914. By the time he entered private practice, he was building a lot of residential properties. He was designing commercial spaces, and he also designed 4 of Madison's firehouses, Firehouse number 7 being one of them. In 1966, Firehouse 7 moved. And at the time, Madison Theater Guild, as I said, we are Madison's longest running theater company, was desperate for a rehearsal space and a set design space, a space to store our costuming, our props, all of that. And the city of Madison negotiated with us a $1 a year lease so that we could use that property for our theatrical purposes. And we have been residing there ever since. And we have been inviting other theater companies into our space ever since. Our costume shop now has over 70,000 unique historical costume pieces that can be used. You know, you need a dresser, you need chairs for your production. Chances are we have what you need. We store all of that. We also provide set design space, and that's so important for our local community theaters. And in fact, Jay Sievers, who will be designing our set for Arsenic and Old Lace, which comes up in March, you know, he wants to thank you particularly because he is designing and building and painting this set in February. And I cannot imagine if we didn't have heat in the set design space, how that would work for him. So, you know, Jay Sievers gives a shout out to you and Lennox also. Thank you guys so much for that.
Thank you. That's kind. And so now you're all set with the heating, and
Yes.
you've got you can move forward. And
Yes.
you were telling me about that you're trying to raise money to get a new roof.
Yes. So this is a very old building. It is a building that we just cherish so much because of its historical value. We also love it because it's in the lovely Monroe Street area, and which is just a safe neighborhood with like a lot of great places to eat and to drink. One of the things about designing a set or costuming, a lot of the people who engage, you know, in these activities for community theater, they're doing it after hours. They work their full-time real job, you know, and then they're coming at nighttime to look through the costumes or look through the props shop or to build the set. And they may be in our space until late at night. And especially for the women who are doing it, I'm one of them, so I can speak to it. Being in a neighborhood like the Monroe Street neighborhood where you feel safe, it just increases your comfort level with where you are. And so not only do we just love the building for its historical significance to the city and to Madison Theater Guild, it just really is a safe space for us to be able to do what we need to do. So.
And so what are some of the other improvements that you want to make to the building?
Yeah, the huge thing now is the roof. The roof is old. The roof is dead. We need to replace it. It is a flat roof. And so all of our estimates are coming in that it's going to be about $50,000. We want to make sure that that roof gets put on in order to preserve the firehouse. And so we're about to start a capital campaign around that. And of course, at the time that we were discussing how we were going to go forward with our capital campaign, that is when our furnace died on us. And we're like, $57,000. I mean, you think $50,000 feels overwhelming. And, you know, how are you going to get a community when there are so many significant needs out there? And it's such a high inflationary cycle to rally behind, you know, Madison Theater Guild's Firehouse and help build a roof. And so, but then when you make it $57,000 because they also need a furnace, you're like, oh my gosh, it feels impossible. And you guys took that burden away from us. Suddenly it doesn't feel so impossible. It's like, okay, well, we did this and this was provided for us. There's a really fabulous community out there that's willing to support us. So thank you.
You're welcome. And how can people get involved with your capital campaign? How are you going to be rolling this out for people to donate?
Well, right now, the easiest way to donate is to just go to MadisonTheaterGuild.org. Just to let people know, we spell theater with the R-E versus E-R at the end of the word theater. We do that to distinguish ourselves from a movie theater. That's what a lot of theater companies do. So it's a little bit archaic, but you just go to MadisonTheaterGuild.org, and right on that front page, we have a button that you can hit that says donate, and you can just make a donation to Madison Theater Guild. You can say in the donation it's for the roof. We already have raised $5,000.
Wonderful.
You know, and so we got $45,000 more to go. The capital campaign, we are meeting about that with the board over the next couple months. And once we finalize what we're going to do, we are going to roll it out. But it's, of course, going to involve some media. It's going to involve some mailings. It's going to involve reaching out to people who have participated in our productions in the past and have donated in the past. And yeah, so there's definitely more of that to come, but you can always feel free to just donate online right now.
That sounds really easy to do.
Yeah.
And tell me about some of the upcoming productions that you have going on.
So we aren't ready yet to announce our 25-26 season. However, I am so excited that in March we are performing Arsenic and Old Lace at the Bartell Theatre. One of the other things Madison Theater Company did is help establish Bartell Theatre, which is just off the Capitol Square. And that is where there are a group of primary resident local community theaters that perform. Like, we helped create that space so that community theaters had a place to perform. It's really, really, really hard to find performance space if you want to create something in the performative arts. It's expensive. Spaces sell out quickly. And Bartell stands as a place where community theater can go and at an inexpensive price put on a production. And we're very proud to have a long history with Bartell Theatre, and that is where Arsenic and Old Lace will be produced and performed this March. Tickets run $25 to $30 typically at the Bartell Theatre, so we keep it really affordable to those who aren't huge into theater but are maybe forced to go with their partner, like my husband is often forced to go with me. We do have concessions, and you can get beer and wine.
All right.
So you can alcohol your way through a production if you need to.
And there's easy parking too.
And there's easy parking that is just down the street. And we put on great community theater. Arsenic and Old Lace is happening. We have a fabulous cast. And not only that, our director, Steve Knoll, is kind of a legend amongst Madison City Community Theater. He's just a really talented, clever, funny guy. And his stage manager, Jan Leventhal, she not only is a director, she's a writer, she's a stage manager. I mean, they are just an amazing team that are building this production. And as I said, our cast is great. The story is so funny. And it's age appropriate. So, you can bring a child. Grandparents will enjoy it. It's good, old-fashioned theatrical fun.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah. And how many productions have you been putting on, and what's a typical year like for the team that's been doing this?
So our board this year is brand new. We actually started at the very end of August and have been going for only a couple of months. Historically, Madison Theater Guild has done anywhere from 2 to 4 productions. This up-and-coming season, we are going to be putting on 2 3-week productions that we're very excited about, that are clever, funny comedies, as I said, to be announced shortly. And this kind of kicks off our 2025 season. So,
is there anything, I'm thinking about parents that might have kids or they want to introduce them to the arts, the theater arts. Are there any things, any outreach activities that parents could take their kids to? Do you do any programs over the summer? Any other activities that people might want to participate in?
okay, at this point, no. In the future, could we be doing something like that? Possibly. I come from Waunakee Middle School as a drama director there. I directed plays there for about 12 years. And so giving middle school, high school students access to the arts and art experiences is really important to me. And so I would love at some point to be able to introduce that to Madison Theater Guild. I know in the past, Madison Theater Guild has put on productions where they were more intergenerational, or they'd call them Madison Theater Guild Junior Theater. So we will be looking at doing that. I do have to say, you can check places like the Overture Center, and they provide fabulous theater in the round experiences for students of all ages. Children's Theater Madison is fabulous. Young Shakespeare Players Theater is fabulous. I've been so impressed with local high school theater these days, and the talent that is coming out and the investment communities are making into that segment of theater. And so I highly recommend go to a local high school production, bring your child, you will be awed. Mm-hmm. I took my children from a very early age to an assortment of different theater productions. And my attitude was always go community theater because it's the most affordable. And, you bring your 8-year-old, and if your 8-year-old isn't enjoying it or, is getting antsy at the intermission, leave. The idea is to just welcome and to expose and to see what they enjoy and what they don't enjoy. And that's just a great way of introducing kids to theater. I'm big into that. And who knows, maybe someday Madison Theater Guild will, create a program that will also do that.
That sounds wonderful. It sounds like there's lots of opportunity for kids to get enrichment in our community.
Exactly.
And you have exciting opportunities coming up. Is there anything else you'd like to say about this topic? Anything you'd like people to know?
So I think a huge thing about community theater, and this comes from our Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy, who actually just came out and said that there is a loneliness and isolation epidemic in America. And he has some very significant quotes and findings on it. And I really believe community theater is part of the cure to this contagion. We are isolating ourselves too much from each other. And things like streaming services make that so much easier to do. But I just encourage people, go out into the community, find an affordable community theater production. Arsenic and Old Lace at Madison Theater Guild's Bartell Theatre in mid-March would be a great one. But, watch theater performed by talented people in your community that when the show is done, you can exit the theater and run into and have a conversation with. Watch community theater alongside other people in your community. Shared stories build community and break down those barriers of isolation between us. So community theater is really, really important in helping us kind of overcome this loneliness and isolation that we're all experiencing. And here's the other thing. In order for community theater to thrive, we actually need community to pay attention to us, to come to us. And post-COVID, that isn't happening. COVID really, really whack-a-moled every single one of Madison's beloved community theater companies, and there are many of them. people couldn't go out and enjoy the theater, so they kind of forgot about it. And they started sitting on their couch and, Netflixing and binging. And there are so many streaming services available, and forgot about community theater, therefore weren't going to see it, weren't donating to it. And to this day, numbers are still pretty anemic. We need our community to pay attention to us, to invest in us, to spend time with us in order for us to have success and be able to provide the stories that we want to provide that inspire and delight and inform. So we need that community to come out and start doing that with us again. And so I just encourage everybody, be part of the solution to loneliness and isolation by coming and enjoying community theater, and also be part of what keeps community theater alive in and around Dane County. Because once it's gone, you may not notice that you miss it, but you will miss it. Because again, you feel more isolated. You feel more lonely. Nothing brings people together like a shared story. Nothing.
Kendra, those are really good words of inspiration for everyone to hear. And I love your ideas about that. And I'm going to add that I encourage people to bring their coworkers, make it, not just bringing your kids, but go as a group of friends, go with coworkers. Everybody should participate in some way. At some point, go to some theater in Madison, Dane County. Like you said, go to a local high school. It's all accessible to all of us. We can reach it.
And I just want to say thank you to All Comfort again. I can't stress enough what you have done for Madison Theater Guild and for our Firehouse, and how much we appreciate it. And I also just have to give a shout out, because people that maybe don't use your service don't know how you schedule. First of all, your schedulers are fabulous on the phone. But then once an appointment has been scheduled, you get a bio of the person who's serving you. And so you get this email that says, Larry's going to come out, and this is what Larry looks like. There's a picture, so you know who Larry is physically. And, Larry, likes this sports team and enjoys grilled cheese sandwiches and has a wife and 3 kids. And by the time someone from All Comfort Services shows up at your doorstep, you kind of feel like you know them. And that just really alleviates a lot of anxiety. And I also have to say, we have had 2 of your fabulous servicers out to the Firehouse, and both of them have walked through our doors and haven't just been there to do the thing that they're supposed to be doing. They've gone above and beyond and been like, oh, you're using those air filters? I'd recommend these. Oh, let's check your thermostats and make sure your batteries are updated. And I'm like, but you're not here to do that. I mean, they really are fabulous human beings. I love the bios. So who came up with that idea?
Well, actually, it's part of our system of how we present ourselves to. It's part of our plan, our overall company plan of how we present ourselves. We want to make sure people get to know us. Because you're right, it is an anxiety-ridden situation. When someone calls us, typically it's because they have a problem. And so we're trying to make it as easy as possible. So we're glad that you discovered that.
Oh my gosh, I loved it. And, when people call you with an issue like, our furnace is dead, immediately you're thinking, do I have the money to afford this? It doesn't matter who you are. How am I going to get the money to afford this? What does this mean to grocery shopping, to birthday gifts, to the family vacation? I mean, there's so much anxiety that's built into making a call like this, because everyone needs, their heat and their electrical to work, their plumbing to work. They need all of these things to work in order to just basically function as a household. And it's so stressful, and any chance to inject a little bit of humor and personality into it, it really de-escalates, the situation and the anxiety. And so that was really clever. Bravo to you guys.
That's great feedback. We really appreciate hearing that. Thank you. I really appreciate you coming out today and
Oh.
telling your story. And I think everyone needs to hear the story about Madison Community Theater and what you guys are doing with the Guild. So thank you for coming out.